Hey everybody, it's Diane O'Brien again, your Headhunting Housewife. We are on session 9 of a 10-session series on closing your first deal, being a headhunter, being a headhunting housewife here. So you now kind of know what a day in the life looks of a recruiter and everything that gets involved in finding clients and finding candidates and making the match. You've done all of this successfully, finally. Maybe it's not your first round, might not be your second, could be your third. When I started my business, keep in mind, I don't know how many I failed at before I got my first. It's many years ago, I have to look, but I know it wasn't the first. It might have been like the sixth one. I don't know. I know I was ready to give up at least 10 times. But I kept pushing through, and can tell you a lot of stories about it later as far as inspirational stories to keep at it if you know this is what you want to do and that you can do it. So this clip, number 9, right, is on invoicing. So, and that's a great part of the process. I mean, even more fun than getting the client order and then knowing the job. I guess the job offer is when you really want to, celebrate and again pop another bottle of champagne. First you got the client, now you got the candidate that's taking the offer. That's great. But it's fun then to wake up, let's say the next morning you're in your office and to do the invoicing. Now, if you're like me, the way that I started my business, again, I didn't have all this laid out in a business plan where, let me go to my invoicing file and pull my invoice. I'm like, crap, I need an invoice. What's that look like? And I was never much of a bookkeeper, so even though everyone told me get QuickBooks, get Quicken, to this day, I am very sorry to say that I'm still not good. I've tried them all, and look, I have an accountant to handle that, but no. So, but you have to be somewhat of a bookkeeper. So if you can get, hopefully you're not like me in that regards, get like a QuickBook, or actually Quicken's fine. I used QuickBook later when I had more people working with me or for me, and then as the company was growing, but as I kind of backscale to just have myself again in my business, a Quicken I think is all you really need, and then you can use it for personal as well as if you like rental properties. It's all in there. So Quicken's great. But again, in the beginning, I just kept a file, paper ledger, sorry to say, and then my accountant hated me. But you want to invoice. It's not a big deal. It's kind of scary, like how do you invoice? I think nowadays it's so much simpler. I think back when I was starting, I had to go to Word and try to find something. And I basically used my mentors. I called up recruiters that I knew in the industry to get some templates sent to me. Ideally, if you have that fixed in your financial software, it'll be good to go. This, again, is all the details. I'm not a detail-oriented person. I like the kind of more of a broad brush it than the detail person doing the very fine-tuning. God is in the details, and you have to be part of that, obviously. As you've probably heard through the sessions, there's a lot of details I do cover. And I guess the details when it comes to the fun stuff I do enjoy, but the details when it came to math and numbers, I don't so much. So, but the invoice is a good time. Have your invoice. That's basically, I guess I should say, just, keep it professional. If it's through QuickBooks or a Word document that I used for many years, it just would have my company's name at the top. You have to have your EIN if you did an LLC. I don't think I really covered the whole topics on what kind of company you wanted to be, but if you're just starting out and haven't really incorporated anything or didn't do a limited liability corp, an LLC, which only costs, at least in my state, $100 in Pennsylvania to open, and that's how I got started, I guess, in '03 with my first business. Cost a little more to incorporate, it's $1,000. But you know what? Right after all of that, just to keep it simple for tax returns and everything else, a DBA works fine too, a doing business as. And that's where just if, again, you're getting 1099s as income, when you get paid, you'll be a 1099 to your client if you're not working for them directly. Now, for myself, I've done both for many years. Many of the clients I've started working with, the past couple, in fact, Hobbs in Town and Magellan, where I'm recently, I started as, I think I know this great recently, I think, yeah, before too, with a 1099 independent, but then quickly was asked to become a W-2 employee. And then that's a little bit different. You're used to W-2s. 1099 might be new for you. That's when you're an independent contractor and just for tax purposes. So anyway, when you're invoicing, you want to have that on there, your company name, your EIN number. Again, if it's a different taxpayer number than your own. If you haven't set any corporations up or anything, that's fine. It can just be whatever your name, for me, Diane O'Brien, and on your taxes, it'll be a DBA, a doing business as. I think that's what the Schedule C is included in that versus a separate corporate return. I have to ask my accountant that, but anyway, so that it's very basic. So, but to start out here, get the invoice over. I always had terms of net 30 on mine, so go ahead and send that over. Usually it's just an email form with a Word attachment, or if it's a QuickBook attachment, to and make sure it's going to the right department. I used to send that right to not the hiring manager, but the HR person. But then you would find out the HR person is just sending it to their accounting department, and you might not find out that I found out the hard way, because if after net 30 here I've got the person placed and I'm still waiting for my check to come in the mail, you call HR and they're like, oh, well, I've sent it to the accounting department, a month ago. So, say, hey, who's the account I need to follow up because it's in arrears and I need to get paid. Don't be afraid to start with that. Like ask them, when you first in your invoice, your HR, your hiring manager contact, who's the person in accounting that would get me paid, just so I know that person's email so I can copy them in the invoice, send it direct. And that way, if they're late, if you call them, squeaky wheel, the whole squeaky wheel theory is so true in life, in business. If you call and say, hey, that's a little late, they might not even realize that. And I've done that with my own vendors when I had 1099 people working for me. You don't try to pay people late just like your bills, right? It just happens sometimes. And until you get better at that. But anyway, so if you call them and have a relationship with them, they'll be more just what's the word? Those seem to kind of want to pay you quicker, realize that you're kind of watching that a little bit, and send it out quicker. And then later, or just from the beginning, it took me later to realize after the net 30, you can write terms in the invoice that say, and sometimes it has to be in the contract from the beginning, but have terms where if it's late, you can add on a certain percentage or a late fee. And I remember one company in particular, Market Bridge, I hired a lot of people for. We ended up getting a lot of late fees, and it's because they kept switching out accounting people. They were going through some kind of, I don't know what they were going through. There was a company in DC, and they just would pay us very late. And it was affecting us because this was at a time we actually had some sales teams working directly through our company, Salesforce Inc. And anyway, so we would bill a lot of late fees and made hundreds of dollars. We don't really want to make that off being late, but it was just necessary. So you can incorporate that into your invoice too. But to keep this simple invoice, boom, whatever, Philadelphia, it can be based, I can send you a template. That's what I'll do. It's a very simple invoice. So even though I used to sweat that in the old days, it should be a no biggie to you. So that's number 9. So we're going to go number 10 next is, now just doing it all over again. So stay tuned, number 10. By the end of that one, if you feel like this is for you and you're excited by how all this sounds, then I'm going to have other information for you to go to later. And if you need more mentoring, or I need to definitely put this in more of a book form later for you. And then hopefully, though, too, for all those of you I'll never hear from, and you watch this whole thing and think, oh my God, it was a lot of work just watching that. Then it's not for you, and I saved you a lot of time, which is so important. If in life someone was telling me exactly what was involved, it saved me the time of making the mistake. That's worth just as much as the other, isn't it? I have someone I know recently that graduated college in a certain degree, and luckily for me in college, I knew I liked sales, and so I kind of did sales jobs through college, and even had mentors back then. But for this person, a young lady, and she went into a field, I won't mention any names on this one, that she thought sounded really cool, really never had any mentors, just went all through college, and didn't realize until the first 6 months after graduating that field wasn't for her. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I mean, again, the time, the savings now to kind of have to uproot your career. If you could have someone tell you step by step, kind of like these video clips, this is a day in the life of a recruiter. That's what these 10 clips are. I can't even get it into one clip, I think all this, I'm sure will be over an hour long. I was trying to keep it under an hour. But if you take 1 hour to really listen through all the steps, and realizing and me talking about them in each one of these steps, when you're actually doing it and you're at your desk, what's involved in that? Again, this is going from an hour of teaching about it to when you're doing it, it'll be 2 to 3 months of your life closing a job order. Even if you're just working one at a time, or if you have like 8 going through at the same time, and then doing it again and again and again. You better make sure this sounds good to you before you set this up as your new career, because you're going to put a lot of energy into it, time involvement. You don't want to fail. And as far as I'm concerned, once you know it's for you, you go for it. You're not stopping until you're successful. There's no reason to ever give up on anything until you get it done. I mean, the only time I think you should completely give up is when you've exhausted every possibility, gone different avenues with it, looked at different areas, if there's somewhere you can improve, something you're doing wrong. And then if that's the case and that you're just hitting a wall, perhaps that's life telling you that you should be looking somewhere else. I don't know, I've never had that happen. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that. I have, not where hitting a wall and failing, but feeling like often for me it's losing energy and it's just not fun anymore. And because it's not fun anymore, I'm not giving it my all. And then I've had times in life where I'm like, you know what, that's because life is telling me if it's not exciting anymore and the money is not even exciting, which used to always get me going to work these jobs. The money alone, knowing what I would make, would give me the passion. Years later, that's not so much the case, where the money wasn't the driving force. And then you have to really make sure you're loving what you're doing, or else it's not even worth it. So anyway, I'm going to cover that in clip 10 a little bit more about doing this again and the life balance of it all. Bye.